Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Boxer Report, episode 356. I am your host, Michael. Joining us this evening, Gail from Community Digital News and NY Fights, and Daniel from Board Boxing News and the Inscriber. They will join us shortly. But for the time being, back with us this week, Jacob from Jab Hook Boxing. What's going on, Jacob?
Hey Mike, how you doing, man?
What's going on? What's going on? For those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, live YouTube show, podcast, blog slash website that discuss all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, it will get talked about. If you want to find out any and all information regarding the show, the blog slash site is the place to go to. Give me a quick second, some technical errors here. P4pboxingreport.com. If you want to email us, you can do so, p4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you'll be able to find links where to find us all over the socials, links for the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, IG, Twitter page, as well as Tumblr, links where you can donate. Got Cash Me, PayPal donation links up on the page. And I'm not doing the Beachbody coaching thing right now, but still, I suggest you check out the link to it. Beachbody on demand. Um, if you're trying to get your body right, trying to get yourself right, trying to get yourself healthier for the summer, or if you want to make fitness your lifestyle, please check out Beachbody on demand. Please take advantage of the 2 week trial. That is, for 2 weeks, you get free access to all programs on Beachbody on demand, be it the classic P90X Insanity series, be it workout programs like Bar Blend, Morning Meltdown, 6 weeks of the work, uh, the new 645 program that dropped towards the end of 2021, or the boxing based 10 rounds programs. And 10 rounds programs is uh, a boxing based program, 3 days a week of boxing based cardio, 2 days a week of resistance slash weightlifting. Let's get things going. Uh, like I said, Daniel and Gail, they'll join us shortly. But
No, I'm here. I'm ready to roll.
okay, okay, Gail is here from NY Fights at nyfights.com and Community Digital News. I think Daniel, he'll join us shortly. Uh, let's head over to one fight I got up here. If you, Gail, Jacob, if you want to talk about other fights, please do so in the private chat. But let's head over to the UK, Nottingham, to be specific, and recap the fight that still has folks talking. I watched this during while I was at work. Uh, that is WBA regular featherweight strap between champion Leigh Wood, number one WBA featherweight contender Michael Conlan. I'll go to you, Gail, and you can join us as well, Jacob. Um, wow, that's all I got to say in watching this fight live. Were you entertained? I surely hope so. Fight started in fantastic fashion for Conlan. Put Leigh Wood flat on his back with the straight left, Titanic left hand towards the end of the first round. Had him hurt badly in the second, and ultimately his failure, Gale, to finish Wood in that second, third round cost him in the very end. Wood was able to find his bearings, his footing in the middle rounds. I felt at the midpoint of the fight, he started to slowly but surely really come uh on the scorecards entering the 12th. Well, let me go before that. He came back to the point where he put Conlan down in the 11th round with a left hook. Conlan protested. He felt it was a slip, but I personally felt it was a punch. I saw a punch land. But then you got to the 12th round. On the scorecards, Wood was behind, but as the crowd was getting into it, and just a side note, U.S. fans, just watch a UK fight and UK event and study how they do it in terms of crowd participation, in terms of how to stage an event. I'm just saying, um, as Wood was coming on, Conlan, you could just see Gale starting to fatigue. I felt he buzzed him with a left hook, and then roughly a minute or so left in a minute or half or so left in the maybe a minute and a half or so left in that final round. He hit Conlan with a right hand to the temple, short circuited Conlan. His body went limp. Another right hand by Wood. Four consecutive combination right hand, left hook, put Conlan down, knocks him completely out of the ring, cold, right? The crowd went wild, Wood went wild, boxing Twitter went wild, and just as the title of this episode says, what a finish. Arguably fight of the year right now, knockout of the year. I'm still amazed.
You know, a lot of people sort of shit on this fight. It's a domestic fight. It's okay. Yeah, we might watch it. There was not a lot else going on the schedule. Most American promoters don't want to compete with the NCAA men's and women's tournament, all the various regional tournament finals, a lot of basketball action, sort of scrubs the boxing schedule for a couple of weeks. But we got our card over there, and I tuned in, and first of all, there was some darn good fights on the undercard, including the Sandy Ryan, Erica Farias fight was damn good. But besides that, this main event was so good and so unexpectedly good. When you've got two bangers going at it, you're ready. When you know that you've got Inoue and Donaire, you're set on your seat. None of us were prepared for what we saw. First of all, yes, Michael Conlan lost. But this was the most impressive version, even as flawed as it was, especially offensively speaking, the most impressive version of Michael Conlan I can recall seeing. He is usually not a power punching machine. He was a very accomplished amateur fighter. He's still got that aura of the amateurs, technical skills around him that lead him generally through to the end of the fight and the victory. Oh, this time he was banging away. And, let us remember, he scored the first knockdown. But as the rounds rolled on, and it seemed like he was dominating Wood, the pendulum slowly started swinging the other direction. And Wood started gaining ground. Now, he was in a pretty deep hole, but he was digging his way out. And Conlan was, at times handing him the shovel. God bless him. Wood survived as long as he did to turn it around, because that man has a granite chin. No doubt about it. He took some shots. He walked through a lot of them. He kept coming, and Conlan started to gas out. He visibly started to fatigue. And then Wood scored the knockdown, which gave him, a swing in the round. Conlan was winning that round until he got knocked down at the end. And going into those championship rounds, it was all on the line, and it was all Leigh Wood up until we got that absolutely crazy, let me borrow a Roy Jones Jr.ism, hellacious knockout. It reminded a lot of people of the way that Joe Smith Jr. knocked Bernard Hopkins out of the ring. And I was ringside for that and saw Bernard's feet fly over his head. I remember how shocking that was. I can only imagine how shocking it was for this wild Nottingham crowd to see Conlan fly out of that ring and crash. And he was out cold, no doubt. He was out cold from that right hand. And that's what made the outcome so dangerous, because we've all seen a guy hit the canvas, be out cold, and you have you're not protecting yourself. You're not breaking your fall in the slightest. You're just a slab of granite going down. And that's a long way down out of a raised ring when you're out cold and you land on your head. So there was a lot of concern for Conlan. And what a classy reaction. This was a huge win for Wood. He had every right to celebrate. Pardon my dog. But when he realized the severity of Conlan's injuries, he knocked it off. when he kind of was denied his celebration, but he did the right thing. He backed it way off. He truly was concerned for Conlan's health. And, any boxer will tell you if they have seriously injured somebody, or God forbid, the few, who've had an opponent die in the ring, that weighs very heavily on them forever. Thank God it seems like Conlan will recover. In fact, there's a lovely photo of the two guys the next day, kind of, arm in arm. So we wish Conlan well. But boy, suddenly we've got kind of a new rising star on our hands named Leigh Wood. Absolutely, I get it. It's only March 15th. But for sure, that's the fight of the year so far. And I really do think he's got a good chance to hold out and knock out of the year.
Did your boxer, meaning your dog, watch the fight with you, Gil?
Oh, she loves it. Although I frequently startle them because of my yelling at the screen. So
see, then I can certainly understand the barking, because they were just as excited watching the fight. It probably was to chime in during the episode.
Well, so I think sometimes the barking expresses how we all felt better than we can articulate. I mean, it was just such a wild fight, so entertaining and so shocking. And the surprises are, except for those of you who might have lost some money, the surprises are what we really love about boxing in a lot of ways.
100%. I go to you, Jacob. Last week, when you was on the show, you picked Wood. You picked Wood to win. I had my questions about Conlan. Even though you picked Wood to win, I'm sure you didn't expect the fight to go down like that. The way that Conlan went down, it was both thrilling and scary at the same time, because there was like to Gail's point, they didn't the celebration from the fighter and the trainer and everybody specifically involved in the fight on the winner side was tempered, right? The DAZN crew, they didn't show the replay. Couldn't find any footage of a replay until you saw some stuff pop up on Twitter after the fight, and there was about a 30 to 60-minute window when you was unsure, because all you heard from the ringside folks was that Conlan was down and they was carrying him out to the dressing room, to the hospital, excuse me. To Gail's point, Conlan appears okay. He Hearn, during the post-fight press conference with the local media out there, said that Conlan was cognizant and alert. Gail mentioned the photo. Conlan also posted a video of himself in the hospital, saying he was okay, as well as outside the hospital, and said he's okay and he wants to run it back. So we're glad to hear now that he's okay and he's, no in imminent danger as we know of right now. But to the fight, Jacob, yeah, that was something. That was as thrilling as it gets, and the way the fight concluded, like I said, scary but sensational indeed. I hadn't seen a final round knockout like that to pull it out in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things unwrap here. But last week I did pick Wood. I actually said that I thought it was going to be a sneaky good fight, and the reason I said that was because I thought that Wood and Conlan matched up really well. Like, they had, kind of different skill sets, and I thought it was, going to be like a styles make fights kind of like fight, and every now and then I think I'm right. So it was a really good fight, and like Gail was saying, like in that last round when he knocked him out, I was like, I like yelled, I was like, oh my God, and my daughter who's in the house with me, kind of playing off to the side, she kind of got a little startled. So apologies to her for that, but yeah, I mean, it's on my bucket list, first of all, to be in the UK at a fight. I mean, those fans are so awesome. Like, they were just hyped the whole night and just, cheering both their guys on. It was a pretty 50-50 split crowd. But they're true fight fans. I've been to a lot of live fights here, locally, and you get people that are booing, and things like that. They really know how to do it. They have a good time, and I would love to be at one of those arenas someday on my bucket list. But yeah, I mean Conlan, I gave credit to Wood, man, because that knockdown in the first round, he was hurt badly. I mean, his head hit the canvas, and he actually looked like he had some trouble getting up. Like I was actually surprised he got up, but he did get to his feet, and Conlan's going to be kicking himself for a while because he had this fight. I mean, he basically had him hurt, and in that second round, also, like you said, he didn't finish it off. But I would say all the way up till like maybe the fourth round, he couldn't miss with that left hand. And I don't know what was going on with Wood. I don't know why his corner was telling him, keep your hand up, keep your right hand up, because he keeps on hitting you with that left hand. But something did change, I think, from that fourth round on. Wood started, even though he was getting tagged with that left hand and getting tagged with body shots and getting tagged with some jabs and stuff, he seemed to like be taking the punches a lot better. Like I think that first knockdown was kind of like he didn't expect that punch, and so it's like always that's cliche that they say it's the punch that you don't see that hurts you the most, right? So I think he was thinking that he was going to go low, and he went high and just kind of a wide left hand, and he stung him. But once he got through that, you can see he was coming forward, and he was, trying to mix it up. And actually, before the 11th round, in the 10th round, he hurt Conlan bad because Conlan was holding on to him like for dear life, and the ref was trying to break them up. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but I mean, he was like holding on to him like a lot, like hard. And the ref was trying to break him up, and he wouldn't separate. He wouldn't clip his hands or whatever. And so I was like, oh man, I was like, he's hurt. So like maybe Wood has a chance here if he can get here and land some shots, and that's what he did. He landed those shots, and that right hand that basically put the lights out, and then he fell back, and it was crazy ending to a fight. Much respect to the broadcast team, and for Wood for basically trying to get the crowd to like kind of settle down. It was an exciting moment for his career, but it was a serious moment for Conlan, and so respect to them, to DAZN, to everyone there. I think they did a really good job of making they were happy, but hey, we just want to make sure Conlan's all right. And to kind of speak on the falling out of the ring that Gail just talked about, I actually was at that the Hopkins versus Smith fight also. And I actually was at another fight at the StubHub Center when Williams knocked out Cintron. I think it was Cintron out of the ring also, and that ended the fight. I think that was in like the fourth round. So I've been at 2 live fights where somebody's been knocked out of the ring, and this fight had shades of Jermaine Taylor and Carl Froch. I think that was also might have been in Nottingham or
yeah. That was in the States, but yeah, Froch, excuse me, pulled it out the fire. He got knocked down early in that fight. He pulled it out the fire to end it in the last round.
Right.
Thanks for that reminder. I forgot about that.
And then even like one of the the greatest fights, my top fight of all time, and the greatest comeback of all time. And again, he wasn't really like it was a really good fight, and he wasn't really down. But Corrales, versus Castillo, like that last minute, you think that your guy's gone, and he comes back. But great fight, easily on top for fight of the year so far, and possibly knockout of the year, comeback of the year. We all hope that Conlan's okay, and I think he will be. I'm sure he wants that rematch because I think he knew that he blew it. Like he had that fight won if he would have just put the pedal to the metal and just keep on throwing that left hand, and he would have had Wood out of there. But respect to Wood also, man. That guy is tough as nails. He didn't get down on himself. I've said this I think I said this on Twitter. It was like this is what makes champions, right? People that can go through adversity, people that can change their game plan. Like if something isn't working, try something different or adjust in the ring, as the fight's going on. And he did that. It was a 12-round fight. He grinded it out and he was able to get that finish.
Kudos to both men for Wood for persevering through the early troubles in the first 2 rounds and just sticking to it and never giving up and believing in himself and just continuing to press on and believe until the end, until it finally he finally got his chance and got his shots and took advantage when he had a fighter hurt, right? Also kudos to Conlan for acting the way that a fighter is supposed to afterwards, right? Yeah, we saw the scary finish, but he also said that, I'm okay, I'm fine. And then what did he say after that? I want to run it back. Despite his urgence to want to have a rematch, it would behoove his camp to keep him out of the ring for a while until we fully know, maybe give him another fight to pick up his confidence and whatnot. I say all that, Gail and Jacob, as a preface to what is upcoming for Wood. What do you think he should do next? In the post fight, they talked about facing the winner of Kiko Martinez and Josh Warrington, right? They also talked Leo Santa Cruz, who for some reason is still the WBA super champion at 126 pounds, even though he hasn't fought in that weight class for nearly 3 years now.
Yeah.
If you heard Gail and Jacob, what do you think they should do? Should they try to get the winner of Martinez Warrington? Should they reach out to Kiko Martinez and see that if they can entice him to come to England?
Yeah, I mean,
he's a money man now. He's a net fighter now at 126. If you heard, what's up?
I think that's the fight to make, is the winner of the Warrington Martinez fight, because he's aligned with I believe with Eddie Hearn and DAZN also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But the Leo Santa Cruz fight, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, I mean, he has that WBA. We all know the WBA has all their crazy, straps and stuff. They're not too different from WBC with their super champion or regular champion, all that crap. But the other name that we heard boundied around, which I think would be a terrible idea, is Navarrete. I think Navarrete would murder Wood. They'd have to lock him up because he would be murdered. I just think he's too big, too tough, too much for Wood. I think that would be a tall order. But yeah, I think the winner of the Martinez fight, I think is the best case scenario for them.
What say you, Gail?
Well, I know I said over the weekend, bring on El Vaquero, but yeah, he would take out Wood at this point.
I mean,
but I do think down the road, it's a good fight. I think that Wood, let's just remember what Wood just went through. He doesn't need to have another blockbuster fight anytime soon. But I do think the winner of the Warrington Martinez fight is makeable. It's another great domestic fight. Be a big draw. That's a good choice. I don't mind Leo Santa Cruz either. Yeah, he has really been MIA. And he is a draw whether the fight takes place in the UK or the United States. And if Wood has aspirations of being more of a worldwide star, you bring that fight to Southern California or even Las Vegas. But I do think really the best choice right now, and for momentum's sake, is the Warrington Martinez fight winner, because it'll be fresh in everyone's minds. These guys are active. It's super makeable. But down the road, if Wood prevails in all these, he's got to have the guts to take on Navarrete. Yeah, he might be flattened, but after a few more fights, maybe hold his own, which is really the best anyone has done against Emmanuel Navarrete so far.
Sorry, I was on mute. It better be down the road, way down the road, because look, he was he was able to survive those early rounds against Conlan. Against Navarrete, nah, no. I think he'd be. I'm with Jacob on this one. I think Wood, even though he can punch, he has legit power. I think he would be food for. Um, I think he would be food for the likes of Navarrete, who's not only big and strong and can punch himself, but he's very, very active, and he's a pit bull in there. He's not going to let up once he gets you hurt. I see Daniel's back, and I'll go to him and to talk about this next fight. Well, I'll just bring everybody into this. On the undercard, right? You had the return of Terry Harper, a former junior lightweight champion, WBC. Uh, as most fans know, she lost the title to Alicia Baumgartner, stunning fourth round knockout. She suffered was literally knocked out on her feet. Right, returned to the ring on the undercard of Wood Conlan and defeated a lady by the name of Ab- Abelanieda 10 rounds in a lightweight bout. Afterwards, an interesting opinion she gave. She said that she's going to spend 122 pounds basically to kind of reset and refocus and gain her bearings and confidence, really. Here's the question. Given her post-fight comments, do you think that she's all the way back? Do you think she needs some more fights to restore herself? Because it seems, in my opinion, in my after listening, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's maybe back in the ring from a physical standpoint, but her psyche is still a little bit wavering. Whoever wants to tackle that, your thoughts?
Maybe that's so maybe it's a smart move to kind of have that mindset versus having been defeated the way she was and knocked out the way she was. Sometimes if you think that, oh, that can't happen again, or I'm going to be okay, but like we were saying, maybe you need some gimme fights, build up that confidence, build up to make sure that you are okay, versus being, go right back in there and then have something disastrous happen again. So I'm not so sure that it maybe is the smartest thing, like if she is going to know herself better than probably most people. So if she's not feeling, you know, confident, or she's not feeling that she's all the way back, I think that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of courageous and kind of smart, to not throw yourselves back into the lion's den, if you're not ready, because if you don't have that mental part, you might have, you could lose the fight before you step in the ring.
We also see frequently even talented fighters have that one opponent that's just their kryptonite. They just can't get past them. Um, and maybe that's what Baumgartner is for Harper, and she's smart enough to know it. It's hard to say, but it is stupid to keep banging your head against the wall repeatedly, knowing what's going to happen. And if that is the equivalent here with her and Baumgartner, and she needs to rebuild her confidence, um, more power to her. The problem for women's professionals is there is such a small pool of them at the elite level. They just don't have the number of opponent choices. Let's think of the equivalent 122, 126-pound landscape for the men. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of guys out there. Go through BoxRec. For the women, it's a very finite number. So your options become a bit limited, and nobody wants to see a fight that's so lopsided that you end up with a Sinicia Estrada, Miranda Atkins, or whatever that gal's name, I can't recall, but everyone can remember how she got flattened in seconds. You don't want that, and there's no point to that. So Harper needs to determine where she wants to go. And we all make a lot of assumptions about everyone's athletic career. People change jobs, athletes bow out, athletes change direction. So she needs to do some thinking, but she is the only one that can decide because her mind has to be right before she can perform in the ring.
And for more information or more analysis on Harper's post fights comments, you can check out my article I wrote over on 3kingsboxing.com. Shout out to the fellas over there, the head of 3 Kings Boxing 2K, head of media relations Bo, who you've heard on this show plenty of times. Lead writer Bakari, fellow senior writer Jarrell, aka Big Cool, as well as Red, who's the editor behind the scenes. Go to 3kingsboxing.com, your source for pure, unadulterated boxing information. Let's move on to some news here. Breaking news regarding one Vergil Ortiz. I'll get the discussion started with you, Gail. Right? Was set to fight Michael McKinson on Saturday at the Galen Center in LA. Well, news broke late this afternoon via ESPN that Vergil Ortiz has withdrawn from that bout due to a medical condition. I'm gonna try to pronounce it. My apologies if I butcher it. Rhamdomyolysis, excuse me, which is a condition which breaks down the muscle tissue, damaging protein microglobin in the blood, can potentially lead to kidney damage. He was admitted to the hospital before this live recording. Found out he's out of the hospital now, resting comfortably. But yeah, Gail, surprising news. Have you heard what from your sources and whatnot? Have you heard any further updates?
Not a lot. We know that he's hospitalized, that there's every belief there will be a full recovery. What we're learning mostly is from his father, Vergil Sr., who is also his trainer. Vergil Sr. says that he spotted quickly that his son was in trouble, that he wasn't himself. And he said, I know my son. I knew there was something wrong right away, and we caught it in time. That's kind of how he has described it, that he didn't apparently hesitate and took him straight to the emergency room. He apparently was familiar enough to know a condition like this is extremely serious. People do die from this. You hear it called Rhabdo, for short. Yeah, that's kind of a whopper name. And it came to the attention of more people in the last 10 years or so when CrossFit first hit the scene and became such a phenomenon. In the aftermath of its popularity, suddenly there were a rash of cases of this very, very rare thing that happens, this breakdown of proteins and bodily organs, apparently from an extreme overtraining. And your kidneys essentially just cannot process, everything your muscles are excreting, and they shut down, and the rest of your organs one by one start shutting down. Suddenly, a lot of people who engage in CrossFit were coming down with this. So, connecting the dots, we'll have to say first and foremost, I'm sure tonight, tomorrow, you can hear a lot of theories, you can hear a lot of criticism. It's the coach's fault. It's he wasn't making weight. It's just go ahead and list out all the things that went wrong and all the people to blame. We know none of that right now. There's a young man, a very talented young man in the hospital. His health comes first. End of discussion until we know more about what happened. Of course, you can imagine Michael McKinson is just devastated. This was his first opportunity to fight in front of an American audience. He thought the chance of a lifetime, and and he has posted to social about how gutted he is and hopes a fight will continue. We'll see what happens. Golden Boy is in a bad position. Maybe they elevate the co-main, and if they do, that puts Alexis Rocha and Blair the Flair Cobbs in the main event. Lord have mercy on all of us. But in all seriousness, we need to be concerned about a young man's health and his future first, boxing second. But it does, once again, bring this condition and this situation to light. After it, became part of the consciousness when we all were learning about CrossFit was all about. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'll go to you, Daniel. Now that you're back, you had some technical issues earlier. We're talking about Vergil Ortiz. The breaking news regarding him: he had to pull out of his upcoming fight with McKinson. Have you heard? What have you heard from your end? Just an update, Gail. He is out of the hospital. Ortiz now. Golden Boy is trying to scramble around, trying to salvage, trying to find a late replacement for him to fight McKinson, and haven't heard anything on that. Your thoughts on this,
There's a hell of a lot of guys around welterweight in Southern California. I mean, if it was going to happen anywhere, there's probably a lot of guys that are, in the gyms, can make the weight, who probably making furious calls to Eric Gomez and Robert Diaz about now, and we'll see what we find out. I don't believe their news conference for the fighters was scheduled this week until Thursday, which is normally a little late. In fact, it was originally scheduled for all of us to speak with Ortiz and McKinson at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. So I imagine if there is a replacement opponent, we'll know by then.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've heard. They're scrambling right now to make sure get something put on the table, because obviously this is a situation that just comes out of the blue, and they said the logical thing would be is if this was going to be a high profile fight, if this was going to be a fight that you wanted to showcase Ortiz like in a way that Boots Ennis is going to get showcased fairly soon, as both of them are positioning themselves to be the next challengers for the champions of welterweight. More than likely, I would not be surprised if Blair Cobb actually gets elevated to the main event. Like, he's ready. He's trained. He's going to be available. And at the end of the day, yeah, you need to salvage this, because otherwise, okay, it's still a good fight with him and Rocha, but yeah, you just wasted a guy. Not so much wasted, but a guy literally traveled from the UK, coming in, thinking he's going to do something here, and through no fault of his own, he has to see where the other chips fall now.
I'll go to you, Jacob. You shared some more information on this medical condition that Ortiz is suffering from. Could you share the information now for the public?
Well, first of all,
rhabdomyolysis.
Thank you.
Google. But no, I didn't really know anything about rhabdomyolysis. So I was like looking it up. I was like what is it? And Gail was right, and it could be from overtraining. But I thought it was interesting that I saw some others causes are like drugs, cocaine, amphetamines. Also like supplements, different things like that. So, I'm not saying that that is involved, but I just think it's interesting when we talk about this stuff, and it wouldn't be, the first, and it won't be the last time that, a boxer, maybe was doing something that they shouldn't have. I think alcohol was another one, like excessive amounts of alcohol. So again, I hope he recovers. I mean, Golden Boy is, like you guys said, is scrambling because, they lost Canelo. Garcia has been on the shelf for a while. So this was like kind of their next guy, right? Jojo Diaz, that was their other guy that, he's lost a couple times. And, So this was supposed to be their kind of I don't want to say heir apparent, but the most talented maybe guy in their stable, or at least I believe so. So it's a blow to them, and the fight card's looking it's 4 fights on it, and I actually have been to the Galen Center. It's a small place. That's where I saw Charlo and Williams. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a pretty lackluster card potentially. But we hope Ortiz is okay, and I'm sure we'll find out more as things progress, and information will come out. We live in the age of nothing's really nothing gets kept a secret anymore. Things eventually leak, whether it's from the camp or from other people, but you kind of have to weed through all the BS and the people that are just trying to be first and to get the most accurate and right information.
By the way, just one final item, and I needed somebody on Twitter to remind me of this, and I apologize, I don't have their handle right in front of them to get. Yes, I do now. Terry Lane reminds us that Zhang Jilei's renal failure after his Jerry Forrest fight last year, that's what it turned out to be, was the same condition, rhabdo, and he ended up in a hospital stay as well. So this ain't the first rodeo for a boxer with this.
Absolutely. We all want to wish Vergil Ortiz a speedy recovery, right? And we'll have more updates on his condition and when a fight of his will be rescheduled. First and foremost is his health, and you want to get him fully healthy before he steps back in the ring. And again, wish him nothing but the best and quick recovery powers for one. Vergil Ortiz Jr. Let's move on. Going to split the rest of these news segments up to cut a bit on time. I'll go back to you, Daniel. Showtime released their boxing schedule this evening, right? And a fight that I was pretty interested in one of the fights that they talked about is Stephen Fulton, who is the unified WBO BC champion at 122 pounds. He's making his return to the ring. He beat he won that belt against help me out here.
Brandon Figueroa.
Brandon Figueroa. I was getting him confused with his older brother. Beat Brandon Figueroa to unify that belt last November. Some people felt that Figueroa won. Anyway, he's Fulton, Cool Boy Steph, making his return to the ring on June the 4th. Interesting opponent here, fighting former unified BA-IBF champion Daniel Roman. On paper, this is an excellent matchup.
It is, and it is also a mandatory for the WBA title. So he had to deal with Roman one way or another. And like I said, we got privy to this news a few weeks ago because Roman, like the past month, has been making the podcast rounds. And this is going to be very interesting fight because one thing that the Figueroa fight did show when it came to Fulton, yeah, he lands accurately. Yeah, he lands well, but if you push enough work rate, you can back him up. And he can be hurt. And that's one of the templates that Roman has to use. He's not going to have the workload of Brandon, but it's a very interesting fight because it shows a step up competition when it comes to Fulton. Unlike, unfortunately, another person is on that schedule. But granted, we understand the reason why that happened. But this is a very good fight. Roman has always put himself in a position where he can always challenge for a title. And if he loses, like I said, at that weight class, there's going to be plenty of challengers. And I think probably the next one would probably be, Ronnie Rios, if I'm not correct, after this, if they push for another mandatory. So, again, good on Cowboy, good on Roman getting this fight, and the schedule looks nice. Let's just hope that it just sticks around because as you guys obviously talked about, Even at the fight week, things can happen.
I'll go to you on this one, Gail. This next fight, this next news event, um, and that is combo here, if you will, in a sense. There were negotiations happening to try to pit Jermell Charlo, WBC middleweight champion. Excuse me, I put Jermell in the description, but it's actually Maul. Jermell Charlo, WBC middleweight champion, against what is his number one challenger, Jaime Munguia. Negotiations fell through, and instead, Charlo is going to fight. Wait for it, Sulecki. Underwhelming. Here's the issue with me: the level of disappointment that Charlo and Munguia didn't get made. Were you as annoyed as I am right now? Because I don't understand why that fight could not happen. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's good for both men. Both guys need a name at this point. Much better fight than Charlo fighting Sulecki. I tell you that.
Triple G took heat for facing Sulecki. And we're down the road a bit. Charlo deserves the same heat from the same people. If they felt that way before, they're gonna feel that way now. Sulecki is 30-2 with 11 knockouts. He's lost to Jacobs. He's lost to Andrade. What's the point? I mean, it's a time filler. It's a seat filler. It gives us a Charlo fight. Apparently, Munguia, they're pointing the fingers at Munguia, saying that they never heard back from Munguia's team. That both the fighters were interested, but it was the promoters at their end that screwed it up. But it seems like we've got a lot of finger pointing going on. The fans don't really care who screws these things up. They just know that once again, a fight that seems so makeable, that makes so much sense, a fight Charlo is looking for, doesn't happen. So, it seemed like it was on the road to becoming reality. We all thought it would. As of yesterday, Munguia had withdrawn from his title eliminator fight with Carlos Adames. There was a purse bid. It got withdrawn. I mean, everything was pointing toward a deal was there. We were going to get this. This announcement of their fight schedule was scheduled for today. So they had sort of a self-imposed clock ticking. And then everybody, imagine that sound from The Price is Right. Wah, wah. We get this. We get this. The only saving grace is that I believe, don't quote me, I'm pretty sure it is at least not a pay-per-view. It's just regular Showtime boxing. So, Steven Espinosa's positive take on it this morning was, hey, guess what? You get to see Charlo fight without pay-per-view. Yeah.
Don't patronize us with that comment. I like Steven Espinosa. I mean,
huh? And by the way, of the 9 fights they announced today, 9 fight cards, many of which are very good, 4 of the 9 are pay-per-views. 4 of the 9.
I mean, we get to see Charlo fight. Like I said, I like Steven Espinosa. But what do you want for that comment? A cookie, a biscuit, a donut? You're not moving folks like us with that. You had a comment in the private chat, Daniel. I'm giving you the opportunity to share it now publicly.
Yeah, I put this sentiment on Twitter because when this came out, when the news came from all the sources, everything pretty much said that Maul had no problem with it. Jaime had no problem with it. It broke down because of that, because apparently Al Heyman wanted this to be pay-per-view and Oscar wanted this to be the zone. And unfortunately, this draws into the parallel in the situation that we currently have, which is simply Al Heyman just doesn't want to do business with Oscar. And the feeling looks to still be mutual. And looks to be like Zanfer couldn't push in the situation unless Moss willing to fight in Mexico, which we all know that's not going to happen. So, unfortunately, yeah, this bitter situation that has been going on for almost a decade now seems to be blocking now this fight from happening. And barring any situation now, it'll probably prevent it from happening because I would like Gail just mentioned, Munguia pulled out of his WBO obligations. It's gonna be interesting try to pull him back now. So he's either gonna be stuck doing this another year of showcase and just stay busy fights for no fault of his own, looks to be.
I'm disgusted at everybody in this. From the business side. I'm not even going to put this on the fighters. I agree with you, Dan. I'm going to put this on the people behind them, the promoters. This is a joke. This is ridiculous.
Look at the history. Look at the history. Charlo, what big fight has he been in? And how many fights are out there that have been offered to him that supposedly, they never come together? Yeah, it has to be their side because we all know if somebody wants to fight, they'll make their promotion companies or management team, they'll make them make the fight. We've seen this happen time and time again. The people that want to fight will get the fights. But instead, we get this, meh performance that he's probably going to have against, somebody that he should blow out if he's as good as they tout him. And, it's the same thing with Andrade and Canelo and it's just like all these people that he's been chasing, but how do these fights never seem to happen? To me, it's pretty obvious.
I'll give Andrade a pass more than I'll give more than I will give Charlo, because at least Andrade, he's tried to make a fight with Charlo too. No luck.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's Charlo. I'm not saying that Andrade. I think Andrade wanted to fight him for a long time, and they've made offers. Eddie Hearn said, we've made offers, and they just don't. I don't know what.
So let's look at the other glaring bit of news, missing news from this morning's announcement was, all right, so this fight couldn't get made. Well, guess what? Guess who else is not on the schedule anywhere? Caleb Plant. Nowhere. Nothing.
The same Caleb Plant who doesn't want to fight Benavidez, and Benavidez has been calling him out for years.
Well, that apparently would be the same guy. Now, Steven Espinosa was asked about Caleb Plant, and I believe it was Keith Idek who asked him, So, where's Waldo? And Espinosa's answer was interesting, and summarizing it, the distinct flavor I got from it without the words were, we'll have him back. We anticipate having him on the schedule. What he was saying is, but not in the main event. Not in the main event, not yet. Very interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Plant in sort of a tune-up, return to the ring fight as a co-main on one of these cards. And maybe they put him on the Charlo Sulecki undercard to pacify everybody who's pissed off about this just waste of time matchup. And I get it. We just went through a weekend where we thought we weren't going to have a competitive fight, and we were proven wrong. And I don't think we're wrong about this one.
Yeah. And on top, actually, there's also another card that we could put this under. They can put this, if they're not going to plan a co-main main event, why not have it be the co-main event of Benavidez versus Lemieux? If those two have been talking, jacking, doing back and forth, why not put it there? Like just like the big fight, the probably rumors is him and Darrell. Pretty easy fight to make. They both fought at the same time. So there's no excuse as far as preparation in that front. So that would probably be an easier fight. But Charlo's probably also a more logical way to put it in, but I don't think it's going to please everybody in that front.
Plant got
Yeah.
that Canelo money. He's like a Maidana. He's probably gonna retire.
let's move on because, like I said, this I don't like it. I don't want it. No one asked for this. Um, let's move on to some fights here, and because we got a good bit of fights here, I'm going to split some. I'm going to split them up here. I'll go to you, Daniel. Fights taking place in Dubai. These couple of fights I'm going to talk about. First two fights. First one is Sonny Edwards, who was at the Wood Conlan fight. Uh, in Eddie Hearn's face, wanting a matchup, a unification matchup with Julio Cesar Martinez, the WBC flyweight champion. We talked about him extensively on the show last week. Well, Edwards, he's making his return to the ring, fighting number one contender Muhammad Waseem. Sonny has been talking a lot of trash. Apparently, these two have sparred. Um, Sonny has said that he handled Waseem with ease. They're going to fight in Dubai, and it's a style matchup for me. As anybody who's seen Sonny Edwards fights knows that he likes to move around the ring a lot. Waseem, more of a methodical fighter. Which fighter did you think can employ their style here in terms of victory, Daniel?
This fight's probably a little bit more suited when it comes to Sonny Edwards because of that past sparring experience. They know what makes each other tick, and Sonny Edwards it is the world champion level right now, more than Waseem is, but it's going to be interesting to see what his mentality is going to be in this fight because you mentioned it. He already may be looking ahead to a fight that's probably not going to happen because Martinez more than likely is not going to make the weight anymore. So if he's already looking that far ahead, we get the perfect recipe for the fight that we had last weekend where you said on paper, Conlan looked like he was going to be able to have a decent fight with Wood. And instead, it was a tough fight, and he ultimately got sent to the Shadow Realm. This could easily happen to Sonny Edwards as well if he keeps looking forward and not looking at his opponent because while it gives you an advantage when you're sparring, guide for, it's also an advantage for Waseem too because he also knows what can make Sonny Edwards take.
Also on this card, Gail, you have Regis Prograis has been kind of MIA. He hasn't done a lot since his defeat to Taylor at the finals of the World Boxing Super Series tournament a couple of years ago. He fights on this card, fighting a Tyrone McKenna. McKenna swears he's going to pull off the upset. Personally, I do not see it. For me, if Prograis is the fighter that we think he is, he should win and win rather comfortably because McKenna doesn't have the power, in my opinion, to trouble him in any kind. Given the relative inactivity from Rougarou, what do you expect from him here?
He's another guy who just needs to get back in the ring. He just needs to get back there. Is he ready? Is he not ready? I'm sort of perplexed at the lack of an opponent for him at this point. He's got the ultimate flexibility. He really does. And I don't know if he's got the flexibility to fight between weight classes. We all know it's getting hard for him to make 140. But I think he wants to sort of hold himself out, thinking if Josh Taylor, is truly going up to 147, all those belts are going to be in play and there's going to be a mad dash. And I do think a lot of guys are biding their time, hoping that Taylor's going to make that announcement and then game on. But that's silly. These young guys, they stay out of the ring way too long, and it does not serve them well at all.
Not only that, Prograis is getting up there in age. He may be over 30 right now. Someone correct me if he's wrong. He doesn't have that much time to waste. Uh, yeah, he could fight,
33.
conceivably fight. Yeah, ooh, yeah. Um, Taylor is expected to move up. We can. It, it's in the realm of possibility that he could fight for a vacant title, but he has to do something because the clock is ticking. Time waits for no fighter. No fighter, right? No fighter. And I just want to see him in the ring and fighting um, often because the talent is there. He should be a world champion. He should be. Uh, Next fight on the docket here. These two fights are taking place on the 19th, Saturday, also on the 19th. I'll take this one. A rematch at 108 pounds. September of 2021, Masamichi Yabuki um, scored one of the upsets of the year, stopping Kenshiro Teraji in 10 rounds to win the BC belt at 108 pounds. Team Teraji petitioned the BC for an immediate rematch. It's happening in Kyoto, in Japan. And I'm looking, and the thing that troubled Teraji in the first fight was the jab and the height of Yabuki. Yabuki got out to an early lead. Uh, Teraji rallied in the middle rounds, and it looked like he 8-9. It looked like he was going to stop uh, Yabuki, but the challenger cut Kenshiro, and Kenshiro was never really the same. Yabuki was like a pit bull who, at the sight of blood, he got his second win, and basically he went balls to the wall for the finish, and he got it. Um, Teraji, as well as his dad, who was his trainer and his promoter, I believe, they insist that they're going to get the belt back. Uh, the key for if Teraji, the question is, can Teraji deal or have a counter, an answer to the jab? If he cannot, I think he's going to be in a rough go again. If he can, he has a shot because he is the faster fighter, the quicker fighter with the hands. But I want to see it. The jab is the key for me. The jab is the key for me. Can Teraji in the rematch have? Does he have the answer for that left hand stick from Yabuki? I will go to you on this last fight, Jacob, that we're going to talk about, and that is Edgar Berlanga fighting on ESPN. I believe this fight is happening on fighting Steve Rolls. Steve Rolls fought Triple G, got stopped by Triple G. I mean, look, Berlanga, they've been heavily hyped by ESPN and top ranked for his knockouts. The opposition has been suspect. Can Rolls, in short, give Berlanga a decent test here? Well, he's been knocked out. He's got knockouts, Berlanga, in all of his fights, I believe, except one. But still, remains the same. Can Rolls give him a decent scrap?
So he actually has his last two fights have been decisions. So
Okay, thank you.
His streak ended, but like you said, the competition that he was against was not the, I wouldn't say the greatest. So he had a bunch of basically first round knockouts, and it was like 18 in a row or something like that, or 16 in a row. I think Rolls will give him more of a competition. But I'd like to see Berlanga to see, like, is it, hopefully he can get some more rounds in and, be able to, get through adversity. I think in his last fight, he got knocked down. So he was able to get up from that. I do notice that he does leave himself open for counters and whatnot. So hopefully he's worked on that. I don't think Steve Rolls is not a world beater, but he's a decent opponent. He only has that one loss to Triple G, and actually he wasn't doing too bad in that fight until he got hit with that shot. So I think he'll give him a good fight. I think this will probably end up going to a decision. And it'll be good. It'll be kind of the true kind of a smell test for Berlanga, whether he is an actual talent or whether he was basically built up as this 18 or 16 streak knockout, first round knockouts, and now we're seeing the the forest for the trees here.
And I think we're going to start to shut the show down on that note. If you like what you've heard live, or if you're checking us out later on YouTube, please hit that like button. Please follow us as well by hitting that subscribe button if you're checking us out on the podcast realm, be it Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, anywhere and everywhere else in between. Please make sure to follow us there. For those who follow the show on Apple Podcasts, your reviews are really, really welcome. Looking forward to some reviews. A 5-star review will get read on the show. Please, comments, questions about it. It will help the overall algorithms moving forward. I'll go around the panel here. Began the show with ladies first. Going to end the show with ladies first. I think Gail, she had to dip out on us, so I'll give her information. If you want to follow her to talk boxing business, or to check her out occasionally on TMZ Live, you can check her out on Twitter. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You are back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was Daniel. He's back now.
Yeah, well, you know,
for those who want,
we look a little bit alike. I get it. So.
For those who want to check, for those who want to talk boxing, want to talk media, excuse me, or occasionally check you out on TMZ Live, let the folks know where they can find you.
I'm also soliciting puppy training tips, so anybody got a hot one, I've got a little hooligan named Manny. Yes, named after that Manny. Not Robles, Pacquiao. You can find me talking about boxing at nyfights.com, newyorkfights.com, although apparently my assignment to cover the Ortiz card is going to change quite a bit, so I'm standing by to take care of y'all. And also Community's digital news, which is COMM, Digi, DIGI news, comdiginews.com. And hey, folks, if nothing else, I implore you, I warmly invite you, I beg you, follow on Twitter Tim Boxeo, Timboxeo, Tim Boxeo. He gathers all of the club level and slightly above international cards, streams, YouTube channels, all for your entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights from around the world. And let me tell you, as disappointed as we are sometimes with these big stars and big names, there's some damn good entertainment for nothing more than your time and attention on some of these cards. You're going to have some fun. You're going to get some laughs. And, once in a while, you just see some pretty darn good action. So
absolutely,
there is that.
Yep. I'll go to you, Jacob from Jab Hook, for those who want to talk the sweet science. So for those who want to check you out talking movies occasionally on Wrong Real podcast, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, you could hit me up on Twitter, JRATM23, or I'm going to try to make a regular appearances on this show when I can, and we can talk through the chats and whatnot, or you can hit me up. And I'm itching to go to a live fight soon, so hopefully you can see me at a live fight soon enough.
Last but certainly not least, Daniel from 4 Boxing News and the Inscriber, for those who want to talk the sweet science, wrestling, the NBA, especially when it pertains to the Miami Heat. Let the folks know where they can hit you up, Daniel.
Yes, folks, you can find me, like I said, on Twitter, Rawkuz99, RAWKUZ99. You can catch me on there. And as I said, as far as basketball, he won tonight, beat the Pistons, but in the wrestling world, obviously, part of the most consequential people in the history of the business, unfortunately, died yesterday. Scott Hall, complications. I'm just surprised he was able to last that long. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely. Complications, I believe, from hip surgery. His life was, let's just say, he had his demons. Let's just say that, and he passed away. News was announced last night. Passed away at the age of 63, I believe it was. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, you know what it is with Brother JR at Brother JR76 on Twitter. As I said, at the beginning of the show. If you want to find out all information regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, you can check out the site, p4pboxingreport.com. If you want to email us, you can do so. p4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you'll find links where find the show every all over the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Meta, uh, Tumblr, IG. Also links to where to find the show all over the podcast realm, as well as where you can donate. On the next episode, we will do a recap of the fight between Berlanga and Rolls. Alexander Zayas is fighting on that card as well. We may discuss him and his fight. A rematch of a recap of the rematch between Yabuki and Kenshiro. Uh, the fight between Prograis and McKenna, and also a recap of Sonny Edwards and Muhammad Waseem. And we will do preview of uh, the return of Miguel Burchelt. He's fighting on ESPN in a 10-round lightweight bout, fighting Nakatila, who's been on that network before. Also, Kiko Martinez, who we talked about a little bit in our discussion about Leigh Wood, that fight with Josh Schwartzing that is happening on the 26th. Ebony Bridges is fighting on the undercard of that. She's fighting for IBF Women's Bantamweight title strap. The USA debut of Tim Tszyu is going to be fighting on Showtime, fighting Terrell Goucher. And Mike Perez is fighting on the 26th as well. So the 26th is going to be a chock full of fights. So we'll talk about all that action on the weekend of the 26th. I want to, again, thank everybody who joined us this evening. Thank my guests for Gail from Communities Digital News and NY Fights, for Jacob of Jabhook Boxing, Daniel, the inscriber, and for Boxing News. This has been episode 356 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I am your host, Michael. We'll see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening, good night, and I'll reiterate what Daniel mentioned earlier. Rest in peace to one Scott Hall.
Good night.